Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Zone YouTube channel. And after a week away for international football, we are finally back with the Premier League predictions for Game Week 8. It is flying past the season, 8 down and 30 to go. Really excited to see what this weekend has in store. A big chunk of Premier League football to come now as we enter that Christmas, that festive period where football comes left, right and centre. And some big games this weekend as well. We've got Liverpool and Chelsea, a relegation scrap with Southampton and Leicester. Can United produce against Brentford? So a lot of really good games to be excited about. What I'm not excited about is my predictions from the last game week 2 weeks ago. Came in on 41 of our prediction points and only added 3 in the last game. That's probably one of our worst ever performances. So on 44 points after 7 game weeks so far in the Premier League. If you're new to the channel, I know these videos reach a different crowd and you're wondering how our point system works. It's 3 points for the correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, and obviously 0 points for neither. So doing okay in the season. Had a really good week 2 weeks ago, an awful week last week. So looking for a really strong week yet again. Some tough games to predict, but let's get straight into them right now. Our first game takes us to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Spurs host West Ham. A very tough one to call this one here. Spurs were abysmal second half versus Brighton in their implosion. A 3-2 loss in the end after a fantastic first half. Maddison on the score sheet alongside Brennan Johnson, who continues to fire. 7 goals in 7 games for the Welshman across Premier League football and also internationals as well. He's hitting the back of the net, but he needs more help. And I think for Tottenham, it's pretty obvious. It's been the problem we've had with this side now across the last year and a bit under Ange Postecoglou. It's still their ability, their soft underbelly, and their ability to stop teams. Once that first goal goes in, revert back to more defensive style, sit in a little bit deeper, have a bit of negative, passive, pessimistic type football, play sideways. But they keep trying to express themselves. They get overwhelmed by the occasion and Brighton get the better of them. And they scored in a clump, realistically. Tottenham imploded in the space of 25, 30 minutes. So in this game here, how do they respond? I want to see how Tottenham can bounce back because I'm backing them here to get a strong performance back. You expect that from this Spurs side, second year under Ange Postecoglou, to really take that personally that last game there and want to bounce back. Heung-min Son looking like he might be available for this game as well. Son, Brennan Johnson, Maddison in behind them. I think the Kulusevski experiment has to come to an end, especially if Son comes back into the side as well. Get a more defensively orientated midfielder alongside Rodrigo Bentancur in there and shore up defensively. If you can get a better midfield balance, it goes a long way for them having a more improved performance. Because we know with Tottenham, you get top of the top, 10 out of 10 type performances for 25 minutes, but you might get also a 3 out of 10 the next 25 minutes as well. It's about consistency with this side. I think a bit of midfield balance and continuity will help that. Looking at West Ham, they were good. 4-1 win over Ipswich last time out. A good responding result. You get Bowen, Paqueta amongst the goals and involved in the build-up play. And that's simply it for me. I've said it across the last few weeks. To start the season off, I want to see more from those type of players. And they got more of it in the last game. Can they continue to be that good, though? I have to wait and see. It's going to be a more traditional, almost David Moyes type performance on the weekend. Counter-attacking football, sitting deep, Soucek in front of the back line, or Guido Rodriguez sit in front of the back four and then pounce on the counter-attack, use Bowen on the flanks, use the outball to Mikel Antonio and try and stretch his Tottenham side when they commit numbers forward. With that being said, as I said previously, I backed Tottenham to bounce back here. I've gone with a 3-1 Tottenham Hotspur win. I still think West Ham are far from the complete product and Tottenham need to bounce back. They need to perform. And I think this would be a one-way affair here with Tottenham getting the job done. Our next game could be a relegation 6-pointer into the future. It's Ipswich hosting Everton. Both sides far from convincing this season, but one side Everton on the up here. Ipswich disappointing away at West Ham, really never got involved in the game. A Delap goal out of nothing was the only real shining moment in that game for them. I think for me, it sort of shows that team and how they're sort of structured. They've been so good at home. Draw to Aston Villa, competitive, and a draw versus Fulham. A 2-0 tough loss to Liverpool. But when they've travelled away, they've really struggled. So coming back home is a big chance for them. Really get at this Everton side, who are very pessimistic. They're pragmatic. So for Ipswich, it's a different type of performance that I expect for them. It's being on the front foot. You've got to take the initiative and go at this Everton side that are set up first to prevent conceding and then go and attack. So it's up to like the Sam Morsey, Calvin Phillips in that midfield. I think those two there, if you can win the ball back and progress your side forward, progress Ipswich going forward and be more aggressive, that's where this game can be won or lost, because we know at Everton, they like to use the wide areas, like to use the flanks, but they can be got at in the middle of the park. we've seen already this season, quite vulnerable down the spine of the side. So if Phillips and Morsey can control that midfield and win that battle, it goes a long way for Ipswich winning. Obviously, Delap as well has been on fire. He's got 4 goals in his last 5 Premier League games. Feed him as many chances as you possibly can because he will find the back of the net. So that's really the case for Ipswich. For Everton, unbeaten in the last 3 Premier League games. A fantastic 0-0 versus Newcastle. That's sort of what the team is. It's thriving off its defensive, pragmatic style of football and take the odd chance when you get it. That's sort of what they're all about. That's what they've been building towards, and that's what they finally reached, that defensive solidity. It lacked at the start of the season. They found that identity once again. The Dwight McNeils, the Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the Ndiaye's moments of magic are going to go a long way for you winning this game of football. With that being said, though, I back Ipswich in. They're such a solid side. And they play the better football at home when that crowd behind them. I back them in to get the 3 points here. Going in the Ipswich 2-1 tight win for me. Key moments will come. Ipswich will take the key moments. And as such, I said I'm getting over the line. We go to Old Trafford for our next fixture as Manchester United host Brentford. 2 teams coming into it with differing results in their last game. United for important 0-0 result for Erik ten Hag's safety in the job, whereas Thomas Frank's side's come off a 5-3 win over Wolves, which are an attacking masterclass from that team at home. So different to the moulds, but both teams have to adapt in the opposite direction. Manchester United, you need more attacking output. We've seen the side be solid defensively, but not good attacking-wise. Great going forward, but conceding 3 on the road to Porto. You've got to find that balance, that happy medium. And against a Brentford side that's likely to come and sit with a back 5, I think it's the intricate, tricky players in this game for me. Not the Marcus Rashfords, not the Alejandro Garnachos. I'm looking to the Amad Diallos, the Kobbie Mainos, the Bruno Fernandezes. Can these players work in those tight areas, be tricky, break the game open? Because for Manchester United, the first half goal is so important. I think watching this side now over the last 4 or 5 years, the team's always thriving when you can get an early goal, get a first half goal, get the Stretford end up and about, and the game sort of flows on from there. When you drag it out, it goes late in the game, that's when the opposition get a chance to counter-attack and a chance for a mistake to happen, and that's when United look at their weakest. When they're forcing things to happen and becoming stretched defensively. So for me, for Manchester United, the tricky players, get them involved, make sure they break down this Brentford low block and then score an early goal in this game here. When you're looking at Brentford, they come off that 5-3 result versus Wolves, as I previously said, but it's going to be about defensive solidity here. Can you grind out this game? As I said previously, United get nervy, the whole stadium gets a bit amped up on edge if the side isn't scoring goals early in the game. If you can survive the first hour of the game without conceding, I can see Brentford nicking a point or potentially 3 points here. We know how good Mbeumo is in the break. Kevin Schade is showing some signs in games. This sort of Thomas Frank type performance, when you sit in deep, you be rugged, you tough it out, it's a chance for them here. I know his side has the capability to do that. I think I can see them doing it yet again. With that being said, though, I back Manchester United, and they need a win for Erik ten Hag, and Erik ten Hag needs his players to stand up. After an international break, which was much needed, I think United get back on the track here. 2-0 win for me. It's going to be a tough one, but they get over the line in the end. We have one of the most interesting games that come from the weekend as Fulham host Aston Villa. Fulham obviously coming off that hard-fought 3-2 loss away at Man City at the Etihad. And I'll tell you what, if Adama Traore takes some of his chances, they could easily be walking away with a win on the road at the Etihad. It's unfortunate for the side, but it shows the backbone. It shows the ability to play without the ball and how dangerous this side can be in the final third when they get the ball zinging around the pitch there. Raul Jimenez in fantastic form. He's got 6 goal contributions in his last 6 appearances for club and for country. We know how good Emile Smith-Rowe is in the number 10, but who stood out for me is the likes of Pereira in a deeper role, contributing in that game versus Man City, and also Alex Iwobi in the flank as well. I think he's been a revelation this season. We know how good he can be, but he's showing it consistently and doing it to a higher level this season as well. Yes, all the attention's on Emile Smith-Rowe, but it should be on Jimenez and Iwobi. Again, these 2 players, I think, once again, will hold the key in this game. Can they get at this Villa backline and really stretch the backline? Can they cause Emi Martinez to make some big saves and put Villa under pressure? Because Fulham at the Cottage can definitely get in control of games, but they're a team in the past that's missed a lot of key chances, like we saw on the weekend previously versus Man City. You miss big chances, you lose out in your moments in control, and that's how you go and lose the game of football. Those 2 players, Jimenez and Iwobi, if they can take their chances, along with Adama Traore, and you can pounce and benefit when you're on top of the game, they could go and nick all 3 points here. Look at Aston Villa, 0-0 draw versus Man United last time out. Yes, it was disappointing, but it's a bit of a Champions League hangover after that famous win versus Bayern Munich. I think this side's set to have a big sort of rebound here in the next few weeks, improve Premier League results and dominating type performances. I think it will start here, but it will develop from this game onwards. Look at Leon Bailey getting some more fitness. I love what Jaden Philogene has done as well. You've got Ollie Watkins coming in some great form. Obviously, John Duran is a revelation off the bench. I just feel like this side's ready to explode this season and really push himself up and separate themselves from the pack in many regards. I think it starts here in this game here. I see a real tough, gritty performance, but in key moments, they're the team that's going to take the chances, and as such, I see them getting over the line here. A 2-1 win for me. Fulham, and it's not an easy place to go play football. It's quite hard, it's quite difficult, but I back Villa winning this game here with their key players, scoring in the big moments and taking a massive 3 points back to Villa Park. We're back up north as Newcastle host Brighton. Another really interesting game here. Newcastle obviously coming off that 0-0 draw to Everton. They've been a misfit sort of team this season. They've played in patches and moments. They've had special moments to get themselves over the line. They had a great start of the season on paper, but performance-wise has not been great. And it was sort of summarised by that 0-0 to Everton, where they struggled to break down a low block. They've refound that defensive identity, obviously getting that draw against Man City a few weeks ago. But going forward, they've really struggled. Obviously, Isaac out with an injury. Anthony Gordon has been nowhere near his best. Also, Bruno Guimaraes as well. I think they're two players for me I'm going to touch on this game here. They need to be much better for Newcastle to improve this season, and for Newcastle to get all 3 points here versus Brighton. They've got to be at their best. Gordon cutting inside, stretching defences, scoring goals. And for Bruno Guimaraes, be that feisty, that angry character midfield. Win the ball back, progress the ball forward. Be the jack of all trades that we're used to him being. He just looked a little bit flat, a little bit off at the current point in time. If those two players can turn it around, this game can easily swing in Newcastle's favour. Looking at Brighton, obviously a fantastic second half performance to beat Spurs, but they're such a hard team to read. They're so leaky defensively. They'll play a high line. I think they could play into Newcastle's hands, but equally, when they switch on, they play with a bit more defensive IQ and a bit more defensive focus. The team works so well, so much better. Jack Hinchelwood in midfield's been a revelation. I think he's been quite solid for a young player, and they're coming from that fullback position inside into that central midfield position. And then also the guys up top, Yankuba Minte alongside Jorginho Arruta and Karim Matoma behind Danny Welbeck, one of the most lethal front fours currently in the Premier League. They're going to be a danger for Eddie Howe's side to deal with. With that being said, both sides, I think, are not quite at their best. They both can leak some goals defensively. They both struggle in front of goals in moments. They're both really patchy sides. As such, I see a 2-2 draw in this one here. I don't really see any side taking a hold of this game. If anything, probably Newcastle at home. But right now, Brighton are flying in their form. They're kind of the confidence boost of that 3-2 win versus Spurs. So I'm backing a 2-2 draw here. We have another relegation 6-pointer as Southampton host Leicester. And boy, this is going to be a massive game. Both teams coming up from the Championship and have really struggled to get the points they probably think they deserve. Southampton especially. They played some really solid games. Last time out versus Arsenal was really solid as well. It was a 3-1 loss, but they had moments in that game that looked really, really defensively solid, which I can't say for the side at all this season. They've really struggled to defend and be solid enough defensively. But for 60-odd minutes there, they looked really, really good versus Arsenal, which is a great tick in their box and a big confidence booster mentally for this side here. The problem is they continue to concede in clumps. I think that's going to be a real weakness of the side going forward this season. It's giving off a very similar vibe to what Sheffield United were at the start of last season. They were competitive, but they were conceding in clumps and giving away leads and dropping points when they shouldn't have. And you'd come towards Christmas time and they'd already given up. They'd already down tools, and obviously that ended as it did. It was quite one of the poorest teams in the Premier League's history. So a real important game here for Southampton. Obviously, it's a dangerous wide players for me. Dibling's come in and been fantastic and shown his quality, especially setting up some of the great goals that Southampton has scored this season. And then Matheus Fernandes on the other side as well. Can he continue to be that real facilitator? He created that goal versus Arsenal with that great over-top through ball. It's those type of players on the flanks, the spark players. If they're at their best, they can definitely get out of Leicester side that is vulnerable at times defensively. I look at this side though, a 1-0 win versus Bournemouth for Leicester last time out. And they showed me, yes, they rode their luck, but they can be solid enough defensively. Okoli alongside Wout Faces looked really, really solid at the back. And I think those two with Ndidi in a more attacking role and Winks in midfield as well, it's a robust type team. and they're going to get the job done in the centre of the park. And that's fine, but you need something else from somewhere else, another spark from another part of the pitch. And I think Bonanotte and what James Justin did on the flank the last time out on the right-hand side was fantastic. If those two can play at a similar level and support Mavididi on the flanks, that's where Leicester's creation can come from, because the centre there, two defenders and the midfielders are more of your defending, win the ball back type group. But the wide players are going to be where the attacking output comes from, where the excitement comes from. And if you can continue that performance from last time out, I think Leicester can easily get over the line here for me. Southampton too vulnerable defensively. Leicester are too solid enough down the middle, the spine of the park. So I give them the advantage here. I've got a 2-1 Leicester win at Southampton. It's going to be a tight game, but I back the Foxes to get over the line here. We move down to the south coast as Bournemouth take on Arsenal. And it's going to be an uphill task for this Bournemouth side, who continue to really struggle for results to match their performances. Another disappointing 1-0 loss away at Leicester last time out. Their only 2 wins have come against real relegation contenders this season, but the performances have been there. And I think, simply put, you need more contributors. Semenyo cannot do it all alone. You need Van Elson to step up. You need Cook and Christie to have more of an impact on the game. They've been really solid, but they need to have more of an impact on the game, what we saw last season. I think most importantly, especially in this game here versus Arsenal, can this back four actually stand up? I think Ilya Zabani, I raved about him last season, hasn't really been at that same sort of level this season. And alongside a back four that is more attacking in many regards. Milos Kerkez is more of an attacking fullback. Senesi, a goal-scoring centre-half, but hasn't really been at his best defensively this season. It's a very vulnerable back line with Capo Balaga in goal as well, who isn't known for amazing shot stopping. It's a real vulnerable back line. You lose Neto. I didn't really like him too much, but he was more of a shot stopper as well. So defensively, the side looks very, very vulnerable. And as such, the game last time out versus Leicester, if you don't go down 1-0, maybe you win this game 1-0. It's those sort of moments, right? And I think against Arsenal, they're going to have to be at their best defensively to deny the likes of Bukayo Saka, Kai Havertz, scoring goals and getting control of this game. When we look at Arsenal, there was a bit of a nervy moment there versus Southampton, but they go over the line in the end, 3-1. But again, it's Bukayo Saka or nothing right now. You need more contributors. The lack of Martin Odegaard at that creative number 10 is really hurting the side. It's a real defensively now orientated midfield with lack of creativity, and a lot of it has to come from Bukayo Saka, or has to come off Trossard coming from the bench. I wouldn't be surprised this game here if they chuck Mikel Moreno at the number 6, get Declan Rice at number 8 and get him to progress a bit more and drive the side forward. That could be an option for Arsenal to get more creation down the centre of the park. But I back them in. I back Mikel Arteta in. He always finds a way. I think Bukayo Saka, in the form he's currently in, he'll break down any Premier League back line. But if you're Bournemouth, you've got to try and stop him. That's simply put. Because Arsenal right now, all the attacking output is coming from Bukayo Saka. With that being said, back Arsenal's quality to get over the line here. Kai Havertz is in great goal-scoring form, and wouldn't be surprised if he finds the back of the net yet again in this game here. I've gone with an Arsenal 3-0 win here. I think they'll cruise it in the end. Bournemouth right now not quite solid enough defensively to match a side like Arsenal. Wolves and Man City are our next game, and I wish I could say it was going to be a close one, but I cannot see it being a close one at all. With this Wolves side sitting bottom of the table for a reason, came with that 5-3 demolishing at the hands of Brentford. It's pretty clear to see. There's goals in this side. They've scored 9 already this season in the Premier League, but defensively it's all at sea. And there's, you lose Mosquera, you lose a lot of that talent at the back. You need more from this defence. So can Matt Doherty, can Ait-Nouri, can Semedo, Dawson, and Totti, can they be a bit more solid defensively? You're going to have to be at your A-grade best alongside a masterclass from Gary in order to get anything from this game, because Pep's side, the international breaks come at a great time for them to reset, to retune the group and get firing for this sort of festive period here. They obviously come off the back of a 3-2 hard-fought win versus Fulham, but with KDB out and Rodri out for the season, guess who stood up? It was Kovacic with 2 goals. It was Phil Foden back to some of his best performances, and it was also Bernardo Silva heavily involved as well. It just feels like whenever someone's out, someone else jumps up and fills in and does a great job. And I think for Man City, they're way too solid defensively. I cannot see them conceding to this Wolves side. Going forward, yes, it's been a little bit slower in recent weeks, but I think they'll get over the line and do it quite easy. And they'll cruise this game in second gear. Got a 3-0 Man City win here away at the Molineux. It's going to take an absolute miracle for Wolves to get anything out of this game. Maybe even a goal against this really, really solid Man City side. The penultimate game for the weekend is the big one. Liverpool and Chelsea, two of the Premier League giants going head-to-head at Anfield here. For Liverpool, coming off the back of that 1-0 hard-fought win versus Crystal Palace. First half and first 30-minute domination was all they needed, and that's sort of sign of the times under Arne Slot, is getting the job done. Lack of real chaos, lack of real emotion in football. Just get the job done. Real Dutch style, efficient in many regards. And, Cody Gakpo was massive in that game alongside Diogo Jota. And I think, for me, with Mo Salah not being at his best in that previous game, it was those players that stood up. And I would like to see them stand up yet again here. If you get Cody Gakpo, Salah, Jota firing, that's how you can break this game apart. For me, Chelsea are still very vulnerable defensively, especially at the fullback positions, considering how attacking those fullbacks are. And if you get Salah at his best, which he always is with these big games, and you get Gakpo performing like he did against Crystal Palace alongside an informed Diogo Jota, you can tear this Chelsea side apart. And with Ryan Gravenberch being probably the most consistent player in the Premier League this season, he will just run rings around the Chelsea midfield, not only stopping Cole Palmer, but progressing the ball forward and getting at this Chelsea defence himself. He could be a key as well. So for me, Liverpool have so many avenues of attack in this game here. They're the top of the league for a reason. The way they dictate, control games and manage moments is fantastic. So for me, the targets will be the flanks, Gakpo and Salah, and then in the middle of the park with Ryan Gravenberch, you've got multiple avenues to goal, multiple avenues, and a sort of a three-headed snake for Chelsea to deal with. And it's going to be too much for them, I think, because you look at the previous game, a disappointing 1-1 draw at home versus Nottingham Forest. It's a sign of the team, great game, poor game, up and down. It's a real sign of this young group. And I think for them, I'm really worried about the midfield. Caicedo's been good this season. Wasn't at his sparkling versus Nottingham Forest. I still reckon Enzo Fernandez has been nowhere near his best and is a liability in this side. And they rely so heavily on Cole Palmer. So if Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister, I think, are one of the best midfield combinations in the league, if they can get on top of this Chelsea side, they take away what Chelsea do best, and they take away Chelsea's ability to manipulate, control the game, control the pace, and play on their terms. And as such, I see Chelsea faltering. They've got goals in their game. I think for them, it's so important they score first. Liverpool are a team, like we saw last time out versus Palace, that they score first. They can just control the game, sit in a bit more defensively. We know how good Van Dijk is when they're attacking-wise, but when they're being a bit more defensive, alongside Trent and Robbo and the two holding midfielders, you've got zero chance of scoring against the Liverpool side. So for Chelsea, it's so important you score first so you make Liverpool come out of their shell and attack, and there's then the spaces to expose to add a second goal in there. But if Liverpool score first, I don't give Chelsea much of a chance in this game here. I just cannot see an avenue where Chelsea get the better of this well-run, well-oiled machine, which Liverpool are under Arne Slot. With that being said, I've got them winning this game 2-1. I think it's still going to be tight, but I just see Liverpool controlling the game, playing on their terms, dominating it from start to finish, and in the end cruising a game 2-1. Our final game of the weekend is at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest, the great entertainers, are taking on Crystal Palace. And Nottingham Forest continue to surprise us this season. Great performance after great performance. Last time out, despite going down to 10 men, they got a point on the road to Chelsea, one of the more informed teams in the competition. And yet again, you can talk about the attacking players. I want to touch on that defensive three at the back there. Matt Sells in goal with some fantastic saves alongside Milenkovic and Murillo. These guys are the foundation of this group, allows them to play that defensive counter-attacking style. But in this game, you're going to have to change that style a little bit. I think you have to be a bit more on the front foot and go at the Crystal Palace side, because they're going to be the away team, want to sit in, play on the break and utilise the pace they've got on that side there. So it's a real test for Nottingham Forest. How can you play when you're in control of possession, when you're on the front foot, and when you're the side that has to go forward and has to create the opportunities? That's what I'm really excited to see how that works out. I do like the way they play their football, though, when you've got the inform Chris Wood up top and Morgan Gibbs White, the creator, in behind. They're going to be really, really solid. They're going to be a really dangerous side. So I can see them doing that and doing it well, but we're still yet to see how they can play on the front foot when they're in possession of the football, and it could be an avenue which Crystal Palace could find into this game here. They desperately need a win, still winless this season, showed great heart second half versus Liverpool, played some fantastic football, and we saw what Ismail Assar did alongside Jean-Philippe Mateta, a great combination we saw there between those two. So hopefully those two start, but for me, for Crystal Palace, the game's going to be won or lost in the midfield. Can Wharton and Hughes insert the energy, create the intensity which they need to get in the front foot, to play that counter-attacking style and to own that centre of the park, prevent Forest playing how they want to play in the middle of the park as well. Because when we saw, when Hughes came in last time out versus Liverpool, he changed the game, nicking the ball back, being physical, fouling players, getting Palace on the counter-attack. He is that live wire for them, alongside Adam Wharton's trickery and his ability to win the ball back and smarts and IQ and vision on the ball. It's that part of the park for me. If those two players are on top, I can see Palace getting in the winners column. If they're not, Nottingham Forest can walk all over this Crystal Palace side here. With that being said, I back the form of this Nottingham Forest side. I back their side at home as well to get the job done. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be difficult, as I said, not playing that counter-attacking style, which they're used to, but I still back them in to get the 3 points. I've got a 2-1 win for Nottingham Forest at home over Crystal Palace. With that being said, ladies and gents, that brings the predictions for match week 8 to an end. Let me know your thoughts of this in the comment section down below. What is your favourite game for the weekend? What are your predictions for the games in the weekend? And who's a key player that might make a difference this week? And let me know that in the comment section down below. I've been loving the interaction on these videos here and appreciate all the support on these videos as well. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more prediction videos and podcasts like these. And also press that post notification bell so you know we upload here on the channel. With that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, guys. Enjoy the weekend's Premier League action. Thank God it's back. And I'll see you guys in the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.